Psychetruth. Life, wisdom.
Hi, this is Courtney, and you're watching Yoga for Lower Back Pain. I'm starting in a seat on the floor, but wherever you are that you've tuned into this video, whether you're at your desk, in the back seat of a car, or on your yoga mat, or even outside in a park, just take a moment to breathe in through your nose, exhale through your mouth, and bring some gentle twists through your body. I'm going to turn a little bit to the left, to the right, and again. And then I'm going to lean forward and lean back. So we're just creating some mobility through the body. And if you're sitting with your legs crossed, try crossing them in the other direction. And again, twist. Look over one shoulder and the other. I'm going to twist again just to help the spinal column unwind. Lean forward and lean back. So we open up some movement through our lower body and our hips. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you have a little bit of pain in your lower back. So as we begin this practice, I'd like for you to take an assessment of the level of pain and the kind of pain that you're experiencing. Is it a 1, 2, level 3, level 4, or a flaming level 5 pain in which part of your back? Please leave me a comment and just let me know, because then at the end of this video, I'm going to ask you again to tune in and see where you're feeling the sensation, and again, what kind of sensation you're feeling. Our goal is to go from a high level of pain, if that's where we're beginning, to a completely transformed experience. That's a 0 level of pain and a more embodied experience of strength and agility. So leaning back into child's pose, I'm going to take my hands to the tops of my thighs and invite the tops of my thighs to pull back as I extend my torso forward. And you can separate your knees gently to create some more space in your hips. Maybe take your thumbs into the hip creases here. Forehead to the ground, arms down, either beside your feet or in front of your head. Inhaling and exhaling, we're going to stay in Balasana, child's pose. So notice the movement of my back as I inhale. It subtly expands, and as I exhale, my back recedes down in towards my body in the mat. So again, inhale. Allow the breath to fill up the spaces of your back body, and exhale. Emptying your body of breath and letting your body just relax down into the support of the ground. So that inhale that fills up your back, we're going to breathe up onto your hands, and then exhale. As your body empties itself of breath, we're going to lower your hips back to your heels. Again, inhale. So the belly is inwards and the spine is flexed. Exhale. One more time, inhale. And now pause. Bring your hands right under your shoulders, so it's likely that you'll walk your hands a couple of inches back. Now we're going to inhale and open the chest and reach the hips back. So we tilt the pelvis. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, tucking the pelvis, and round your back. Inhale to open the front of the spine. Exhale to round your back. Inhale to open. And now pause. You're going to squeeze your elbows as close to your rib cage as possible and bend them back just gently. So now we're creating a lot of strength in your arms and strength in your chest. Inhale, straighten your arms. Exhale, dive a couple of inches. Inhale and exhale. So what happens to your tailbone as you press up? I want you to tuck your tail and exhale. And tuck your tail and exhale. You can go all the way, tucking your tail back, rounding up, exhale, chest and chin to the ground. Slithering all the way into a cobra position. Now, if you're experiencing pain in your lower back, separate your feet towards the corners of your mat so that when you press your tailbone down into your body, you're feeling very grounded through your legs. Squeeze those elbows in towards your chest and then release your forehead to the ground. You can take your feet a little closer together. If you answered in the comment section, level 1, just mild pain, level 2, mild pain, your feet can likely come closer together for our second cobra. Exhale, forehead to the ground. So just position your feet how they feel comfortable for our final cobra. Inhale. And exhale. I'm going to turn my right ear to the ground and unhook my palms and just rest. Heels swish to one side and then the other. One side and the other. Creating some mobility in the lower body. And now, forehead to the ground. I'm going to roll my shoulders onto my back. Lift my hands up towards the ceiling. Get really strong connection through the triceps and the back of the arm. And then lift my chest. Still feeling the tailbone tucking in towards the ground. Soles of your feet can rise. So this is strengthening the muscles along our spinal column. Want to feel the feet continuing to rise and the heart continuing to rise. And exhale, return to the ground. Place your hands under your shoulders, tuck your toes, and we'll return up and back into child's pose. We're going to lift up from child's pose now and come onto our knees for a low lunge. So I have a scarf that I've just folded up to place underneath my knee. If you have sensitive knees, feel free to do the same. Step your right foot forward and you can place a little cushion under your back knee. Fingertips to the ground. If this isn't comfortable, feel free to place some blocks or any little height underneath your hands. And you're going to lift your front heel off of your mat. So as you're lifting your front heel, what you notice is in this thigh bone, the femur, you place your heel down, there's more of a density in the outer hip. As you pull the heel up, you feel the top of your femur actually being able to drop down into the hip socket. So we want to create a deeper connection of the top of our thigh bone into our hip. So with your heel lifted, feel that thigh dropping into the hip socket, and then keep that sensation of the deep front hip as you place your heel back to the ground. And we're going to keep the front shin right where it is now as you take your awareness to your back thigh, and you're going to lift your back thigh. It's a little tricky to do without moving the front knee as much. So we're lifting the back thigh and then dropping it down. Lifting the back thigh and dropping it down. So another thing to focus on is what's happening with the pelvis. As you lift your back thigh, you are untucking the tailbone, and it's a tilt of the pelvis. As you lower your thigh, you're tucking your tailbone and you're drawing your belly in towards your body. So it's an anterior tilt of the pelvis and then a posterior tilt. And whatever breath flows naturally for you. I'm inhaling here and I'm exhaling here. If you need a little shift through your front foot, pick up that heel as you exhale. So that's a subtle movement, but once we pick this knee up behind us and pivot your heel into the ground, we've created a strong flow of sensation through our back leg and our front hip. So we want to keep building that. Tuck your tailbone, posterior tilt in the pelvis, and then unhook the tailbone, lengthen out your spine. Again, exhale, maybe lift that front heel up, and then inhale, untuck the tailbone and lengthen your spine. One more time, exhale. So you're letting your top femur drop and you're pulling your back femur in. And then inhale, keep the deep hip connection, and you can rise to stand in Warrior One. You can do the same thing, focusing on the tilt of the pelvis. This is a forward tilt. This is a backwards tilt. So we want to allow a gentle forward tilt to inhale, and then a stronger posterior tuck to exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Hands to the ground, knee to the mat, and we'll step back. You can find downward dog or child's pose. Roll up. I'm going to tuck my toes, just gently lift my knees off of the mat, hands right underneath your shoulders. Tuck the tail, posterior tilt of the pelvis, and inhale, downward dog. So for our second side, left foot comes forward, back knee to the ground. Begin by lifting your front heel and feeling the femur drop deeper into your hip socket. And then lower your heel and shift the weight more into the full surface of your foot. So you're stepping into the full front foot. And in yoga, our feet and our hands are all called pada, P-A-D-A. And I like to think of like the image of a kitten's foot or a dog's foot, and or any little animal where they have distinct features on the soles of their feet. Their heels have little mounds, and the base of their toes all have little mounds. And on the center of their foot is really soft fur. So we have the same features through our feet, but smoothed over with the surface of skin. In yoga, we're inviting you to feel your padas. So the front part of your foot, imagine those little kitten paws. And then the back part of your foot has energy lifting up through the heel to connect deeper into your hip socket. Believe it or not, you can feel it. As you pull up through your heel, you're deepening the connection of your femur and your hip. And the space through the sole of your foot is nice and soft. So when you place it to the ground, stay connected with your whole foot structure. And we'll keep that foot structure and pick up our back thigh. And then lower the back thigh. So it's just some hinging action. Going back and forth, and that's helping to break up tension that's built in your hip socket. And it's also serving to create strength in our hips. So these hips, what do? They sit in the car, they sit in their desk, our muscles become lethargic, and our bones respond to that, and our joints respond to that. So you're gonna feel this in deep places, and that is what we want. We want to create some real movement and some real energy in our body, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be here on our hands and our knees. So with our back heel down now, I want you to create the same action, but now we're focusing not so much on this thigh movement, but we're focusing on the torso. So I'm exhaling, and I'm rounding my spine with the posterior tuck in the sacrum and the pelvis, and then a gentle anterior tuck. Exhale, posterior tuck. Inhale, expand. Again, exhale. Gather your femurs, gather your thigh bones into your hip socket. Stabilize the pelvis. Keep that as you rise. Maybe lift your front heel to return to the structure of your pada, front pada. And then keep the softness from the sole of your foot as you plant the pada back down. We're inhaling, expanding, and exhaling, tuck. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Feel your back thigh all the way from your pada, back pada. Hands to the ground. So now we're gonna step back into downward dog. All four padas activated on the ground. And lift your heels, very back of your posterior padas. Bend your knees and tuck your tailbone. So you get that nice connection of energy through the tops of your thigh bones. And this actually is a really nice action to create for sciatica pain. So you don't want to overstretch the hamstrings because that causes weakness. We want to strengthen the hamstrings. The ham strength of the strings. And keep those hamstrings strong. Then we're gonna elongate and let some freedom move through the backs of the legs. I'm gonna walk my hands back towards my feet and allow the walking to be a natural movement. Back of the mat, and I'm going to use the wall for the next move. So I'm going to reposition this yoga mat right here. So again, have something to pad underneath of your knee if you are going to need it, and it'll be right up against the wall. So we're basically just building on the movements that we did before. I'm going to take my left knee to the wall so that my foot travels up the wall, toes pointed to the ceiling. And now a little karate hi-ya. Get your right foot down underneath your chest. So you can have your hands to the ground or any little support that you need. And the idea here is we're progressing. So as you progress, don't go too far too fast. Favorite this video so you can watch it over and over again, because it is a progression. And if you are working with pain, it's a project. And as you know, if you're doing any kind of project, there is a period of construction as well as a period of destruction. So you might just be in a phase of shaking things up, getting things moving around, and then from there you're going to be building the restructuring the patterns. So again, I've been doing this for a long time, over 10 years, and when I started my yoga practice, I had chairs and blankets and bolsters and freak out moments. So you don't go to the most advanced pose immediately. It's a practice we do because it benefits us and it's enjoyable as well as confrontational sometimes. So as we're here with your knee against the wall, if you can, go ahead and stand your torso up. So you're bringing your back closer to the wall. If you can't, maybe prop your elbow up on top of your knee, or just stay with your hands on the ground, breathe, and focus on the movements that we initiated in the beginning of the video with the tilt of the pelvis and the tuck of the tail. Woof. Been here for a while chatting. So my elbows are now back on the wall, and what you can see in my body is an anterior tilt of my pelvis. And too much of that is going to create tension in my lower back and cause weakness in the lumbar spine. So I'm going to conscientiously create a posterior tuck in my pelvis. That's the tailbone dropping down and the navel pulling up and in. And as I do that, I can actually flatten my back on the wall. Now, the unspoken truth of this is the quadriceps are expanding and stretching. And the sitting bone back there and the heel are kissing. You got your heel and your sitting bone right next to each other. So go ahead and plug into that connection. And breathe. Maybe, lift your arms up. And press off. Both knees to the ground. I have my toes tucked. I'm going to sit back on my heels. Anterior tilt, posterior tilt. Switch to your second side. So it'll be the right knee against the wall and the toes pointing up. Get ready. Hiya! Kick your left foot underneath your chest. Breathe and take a moment to just tune into this side. Each side has a new sensation. How many of you started singing that song when I said that? A new sensation. All right. How many of you don't know the reference of a new sensation? I'm lifting up, and if you're not ready to lift all the way up, prop your elbows on your knee. And return to the movements from the beginning of the video. Anterior tilt, posterior tuck. Never gonna forget that. Anterior, posterior now. A little anatomy lesson. So again, in my body, my initial response to this stretch is to anteriorly tuck. And what I'm going to do is posteriorly tuck. Tailbone dropping down. Navel pulling in and up. So I'm really pressing off of my front foot as I'm pressing back into my hip and my heel. Now we're going to bring your hands to the ground and slide your left foot out to the left and untuck those toes. Step your right foot forward, and I'm going to have a seat on the inside of this left heel. If this is not happening for you, take a block or a heavy pillow right underneath of your butt so that you're sitting your hips up a little bit to create more space. And the right foot can extend out to the side. If your left foot is out too far to the left, you're gonna not be getting the benefit. So I'm taking my foot and I'm pivoting the top of the foot to the ground, and I'm hugging my heel close to my hip. Again, these two are really connecting here. And the knees can also come together. Now bend your right knee, and this goes deeply into the psoas, the muscle that runs through the interior of our hip space, and it connects into our lower back, into our lumbar vertebrae. So this is a great stretch for helping to release the tension that you feel in your lower back, because again, you're just creating movement, creating deeper awareness. So you have skills and knowledge in your body to reground yourself and reconnect with more powerful sensations so that you don't get caught up in staying in a pattern of pain. Again, pain is just another word for a project. There's a deconstruction phase and there's a construction phase. So honor the cycle, take some breaths, ground through your sitting bones, gentle posterior tuck in your pelvis. I'm going to take my hands to my right foot and I'm going to kick that foot out from my body because it's going to feel really good. And what we learned about the padas, the points of the feet, I'm going to pull my heel in towards my sitting bone. And that's inviting my femur to ground itself more into my hip socket. And then from my femur, the top of my thigh bone, I'm going to be able to lift my heel more. Now the little pads at the top of the foot are expanding. And I can look up and say hi to the top camera. I'm going to hold behind my knee so I can hinge the knee back down to the ground. And extend it. Now take your hands over to the right side and I'm gonna unhook the left foot and swing it over here. So now with the left foot on the right side, I'm gonna stand up, my navel is pulling into my body, and I'm twisting the belly button around towards my left thigh. With your right ribs, swing them towards your left thigh. So it's like you're holding on for dear life to this left leg. And the idea here is that your bones are supporting each other. So by emphasizing the spin of these right ribs to the left thigh, you are giving your spinal column strength and support. Again, connecting the energy in our back through the energy of our legs. It's a nice twist, and then I'm going to cross my knee on top of my other knee and gently reach forward. Breathing along the way. Rising up. Whew. Uncrossing your foot. I'm gonna turn onto my left side and pull my right foot beside my body. I'm gonna lift my hips up, sitting on a block if you need to, and point your right toes directly to the space behind you. Again, so your foot isn't off to the side, but it is right next to you. So taking a moment, connecting with your sitting bones, try and feel balance between the right and the left. Now I'm going to bend my left knee, and this is causing a dynamic stretch through the psoas. You can see this leg is folded over, and this leg is bending in. So those opposite movements, which is beneficial for repatterning our pain signals through our nervous system. Given our intelligent flow of communication, something else to think about. Now again, honoring the fact that one side of your body is going to respond differently than the other in these dynamic stretches. I'm just going to play with the same pose on this side. I'm not going to expect too much. Don't get caught in expectation. Just stay in presence. Stay in the moment. Tune into the experience that you're creating. So the leg is up here now. I'm gonna pull my heel in, literally, with my hand, pulling my heel in. And that's creating a connection into the femur, into the hip socket. So I feel pretty stable in my hip socket. This is gonna melt the pain away. Also melt some of that excess cushiony tush away, because you start to reside more in the essential elements. So now the heel and the femur connection, pretty respondent. Gonna flex through the balls, the ball joint of my foot. And maybe lift that leg a little higher. Hold behind the knee, hinge and release. Now take your hands to the left side, swing your right knee over your left leg, and then swing your left arm over your right thigh, and spin these left ribs to your thigh, and hold on for dear life. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Unwind from your twist, stack your knee, and gently, in progression, fold yourself forward. Rise up. You're gonna uncross your legs, fan out all 10 toes. Drop down through your femurs. Inhale your arms just in front of your gaze. And then we'll bring the soles of your feet together. Scooch your hips up closer to your heels and hang on to your ankles. So I'm rolling my shoulders into my back body. Get a little anterior tuck of the tilt of the pelvis. And posterior tuck. Heels are lifted. Make sure there's enough space behind you. Just slowly lower all the way down onto the ground. Extend my legs gently apart. And find a final resting pose. And open your eyes. Wiggle your fingers and we'll come up into a seat. So I'd like to know how you're feeling now, and as you continue on your day or your evening, the awareness that you have through your body. So the pain signals, are they the flaming 5s, or are they the more subtle 2 and 1 level? And then also notice as the pain starts to unwind and dissolve, what kind of sensations do you feel and where? So please leave a comment so you can track your own progress as you return to this video and progress in the steps that we took you through. Because again, it's not just one time to solve all of the problems in your world or in your back. It's a progress, and it's a matter of returning time and time again to initiate healthy patterns, healthy lifestyles, So thank you for tuning in. This is the Psychetruth Network, and my name is Courtney Bell. You can visit me at yogacurrents.com, and I would love to see you there, as well as in my other videos here on Psychetruth. So hands together, honoring the light. Namaste.